A Berkeley English professor concluded his lecture of As You Like It with the argument that Shakespeare's play does not ask, "Who are you?" but rather asks, "Who are you really?" At the time, I was a newly admitted transfer student, terrified of raising my hand and speaking up. More importantly, however, my existential crisis quickly transformed with the sudden realization I had a paper due that very midnight. A year later, in an email to another professor, I misspelled my own name. Not Camila, but Kimile. So, circling back to the question of identity, who I really was could be found in the sleep-deprived husk of my body trying to finish a never-ending thesis. This is the life of an English major at Berkeley. Reading, sleepless nights. Reading, sleepless nights. Writing, sleepless nights. Editing and editing and editing and editing. As many of us have felt over the tumultuous year, office hours became a space not to ask literary questions, but to show up and say, "I just can't do it anymore." If there was ever a wrong answer, this was it. The Berkeley English faculty, and especially the students in the Berkeley English department, never let you give up because we push forward. Although falling behind and failing feel like the same thing, they are, of course, separated only by a single letter. Succeeding through failure means you get to say, "I did it." At my time in Berkeley, I have learned about transaffect theory, the genre of cyberpunk, techno-orientalism, the white gaze, the meanings of sticomythia, hapax legomenon, and anagnoresis. I have also become painfully too familiar with the phrase, "clarify your writing." What does it mean when we say we study English literature? What does it mean to graduate with a degree in English literature? For a lot of us, this means reading books, although more accurately, it means reading enough of the text to participate in discussion. Reading, while a private experience in itself, nonetheless allows us to inhabit perspectives that would otherwise be unimagined or left unexplored. But what happens when voices speak in place of and in substitution for that silenced other? How can you represent silenced voices by reading books? Literature creates a community where you can ask questions and challenge the epistemology of your lived experience, and thus what appears to be limitation on the page can be transcended by the very act of reading itself. There is no single voice in literature, and there is no single voice in the English department. We come from different backgrounds. We confront different oppressions. We identify with different communities. But these differences that make up who we really are also means that we challenge the dominant perspective. In the Berkeley English department, we dialogue. And so, as we graduate today and leave the campus behind, we continue to examine and re-examine problems of representation, where we ask not what is our voice, but rather who is our voice. How do we want to be remembered? The familiar rhetoric of the new generation, the emerging young minds dissatisfied with our national conversations, means that we are looked upon as change makers to make good. This means protesting, this means showing up, and this means putting our English degrees to use. We turn silences into speech. We are the voice of a generation that will never remain satisfied with just one answer. Like in literature, can one passage in the text ever really contain one meaning? This is the year of the pandemic, of lost loved ones, of lives taken. In a time that feels hopeless, our presence here today nonetheless signals our resilience. In our last semester over Zoom, which we all know means you clean up the part of your room that will feature on camera and that your PJs have officially doubled as school clothes, let us remember that we have a voice and we have the power to enact change. To the graduating class of 2021, and here I purposefully misquote the Hunger Games, the odds have hardly been in our favor, but we are resilient, we are scrappy, we ask difficult questions, and when we are not heard, we ask them again. Congratulations to you all. You are fantastic thinkers, and not a day has gone by where I have not changed my point of view or challenged my way of thinking. I conclude my address with a quote from The Office to inspire us to go forward and create, but most importantly, to remind us that language can also be used for comedy. Although as graduates in the field of English, we approach language seriously, remember that a blank page is your friend. Or, as Dwight Kate Schrute would say, bread is the paper of the food industry. You write your sandwich on it. Thank you, and once again, congratulations.